Welcome on the cosmic atom as you touch something precious with unclean hands. Don't scream as your life begins to unravel. Because, truth be told, karma is not lost. It was just getting ready and quiet. She wore heels this time, sweetie. They felt that toying with you was a pastime. A harmless little game. You were silent. You were different. You did not fight dirty. You did not expose them even though you had every motive to. But here's the deal. They did not know. You weren't just silent. You were categorized. They were out here slandering a soul that had been severely encrypted by the Almighty. Every digital transaction, phone conversation, and whispered phrase is now being returned like a cosmic subpoena. In fact, according to ancient spiritual traditions such as Kabbalistic, Vedic, and African mysticism, persons who injure the cosmic atom sometimes face generational punishment rather than simply personal karma. That implies some of these folks didn't simply screw up their own lives. They placed their lineage on a spiritual payment plan for something they assumed they'd never have to deal with. And now they're shaking. Not because you are scary, but because they have forgotten. The cosmos observes silently and reacts with surround sound. So sit tight, because in this video, we're not just discussing karma. We're revealing why your name was safeguarded, how their collapse is divine, and what makes you so spiritually untouchable that those who scoffed yesterday are now pleading for compassion today, as well as those who still believe karma is simply bad luck. Baby, you're going to discover that it has perfect aim and petty timing. Let we begin. Number 1, they had no idea you were an initiative. Cosmic law, not only a human target. They assumed they were just dealing with another ordinary person, someone they could control, spread gossip about, or emotionally wear down without consequence. They didn't understand you weren't simply a random target. They were meddling with a soul that had been handpicked and approved by a higher authority. What they did was not only wrong in a human sense. They had no idea they were violating a spiritual commandment. There are individuals on our planet who carry energy that does not originate here. They are born with a unique frequency, linked to something old and unknown. And when others cross such folks, particularly with malicious purpose, they're not just being petty or mean. They're basically entering into a contract of repercussions that they did not sign but will have to pay for. You did not beg to be picked. You did not display a flag stating your spiritual status. However, the symptoms were always there. Your resilience, intuition, and inner light. Even in the darkest of times, you have the capacity to forgive when others would have gone full retribution. You were made differently, and your adversaries could sense it. That unease in their chest when they lied to you, that anxiety when they betrayed you. They could tell something was wrong, but they disregarded it, believing their skill would protect them. What? They failed to see that you were a part of something bigger. You were a walking test, and anybody who attempted to take advantage of you was being tested by the cosmos itself. A countdown began when they planned, ridiculed, or moved against you. For messing with the chosen one is more than simply harming someone. It is about disturbing the heavenly order. That kind of imbalance constantly requires rectification. Now their lives are going apart, not because you are condemning them or seeking vengeance, but because they violated a spiritual norm that they did not even attempt to comprehend. They failed a heavenly test that they were not aware they were taking. And now, the universe is collecting the fee. What they believed was a harmless assault turned out to be them marching directly into karma with their eyes wide shut. They should have left you alone. Number 2, what they described as weakness was really religious constraint. They thought you were weak since you didn't clap back. You did not expose them. You did not harm their reputation when you had every right to. You remained silent. When they lied to you, they gossiped and toyed with your emotions. They misinterpreted your stillness for tenderness and your compassion for naivety. But they utterly missed the fact that you were not weak. You were holding back a force. They would not have survived. You were not afraid of them. You were allowing them to rectify themselves before the cosmos intervened. You were aware of your capabilities. You knew what your words might do. You knew that if you used your entire might, their world would fall. But you chose temperance, not because they were worth it, but because you refused to be dragged into the dirt. That was holy discipline. They viewed it as an opportunity to go even harder against you. They are now paying the price for their inability to see the difference. What they saw as quiet was really divine kindness and activity. You were shielding them from the repercussions that they begged to face. Every time you decided to walk away, they assumed they had won. They had no idea they were being saved. The storm did not strike because you stood between them and what was to come. You were the gap between action and consequence. They assumed you were broken. But the reality is, you were the one who bridged the gap between them and divine judgment. They're learning the hard way that the karma they're dealing with isn't arbitrary. It's everything they asked for when they continued to push, provoke, and disregard the holy boundaries surrounding your soul. You were not weak. You represented the serenity before the spiritual storm. They interpreted your quiet incorrectly. And now that you've stood aside, karma is doing what you won't do. It's more than simply correcting them. It's reminding them of who you've always been, and all of their bravery while you were quiet vanished. Because people now understand you were not silent out of fear. You were silent and out of power. Number 3, their karma has been modified since the offense was spiritual stealing. They didn't merely betray you. They attempted to grab something that was not theirs to touch. It wasn't simply about your time, peace, and energy. It represented your spiritual identity. They attempted to replicate, steal, mimic, and alter parts of your soul as if it were for sale. And in doing so, they committed a kind of robbery that the cosmos never tolerates: spiritual theft. This is the kind of insult that karma takes personally. When you are selected, you carry something that cannot be purchased, borrowed, or faked. It is ingrained in your being. You have access to knowledge, favor, security, and authority. That did not originate from you. It went through you. That's why so many people gravitated toward you, but secretly jealous. They want your essence without bearing your burden. They did not want to be like you. They wanted to replace you. Some sought your voice, talent, power, and anointing. They had no notion how much it cost you to carry it. What's crazy is how they attempted to use it against you. They observed and examined you. You appeared to adore everyone while calculating how to drain them. And after they'd gotten their fill of your energy, they turned on you. They believed that by wearing your skin, they could trick the whole world. But here is the reality. Spiritual responsibilities cannot be taken. They can only be allocated. And everyone who tries to force their way into your calling is met with a set of repercussions that are tailor-made for them. That is exactly what is occurring right now. They're wandering around confused, paranoid, unwell, financially depleted, and psychologically unstable because they unknowingly awaken karma. Every phony flattery, manipulation, and effort to exploit your spiritual light comes at a cost. Karma always charges full price. They didn't just do wrong. They attempted to benefit from what was never intended for them. And now, every blessing they attempted to take has turned into a weight they cannot bear. You didn't need to curse them. Energy took care of it. They attempted to deprive you of what was divine. And now, they're learning the hard way. When you take from the holy, you do not just lose. You undergo a spiritual examination, and it is never gentle. Number 4, they did not ruin your reputation. They destroyed their own reflection. They felt they were bringing your reputation down. They believed that if they uttered the right untruth to the right person at the right moment, people would turn against them. They spoke behind your back, emphasized your shortcomings, and turned your reality into something vile. But they didn't know they were just showing the world who they were, not who you were. They were not ruining your reputation. They were exhibiting their own reflections. And it was not beautiful. The dirt they threw at you didn't stick because it wasn't yours to carry. You remained faithful. You did not retaliate. You did not fight fire with fire. You remained calm while the pandemonium unfolded. And that choice ultimately rescued you. Because now that the dust has settled, people can see clearly. They are beginning to ask inquiries. They're recalling the details that didn't add up. And soon, their name replaces yours in their tongues. Their falsehoods were never about you. They were about concealing their own vulnerabilities. You made them uncomfortable just by being. Your tranquility annoyed their pandemonium. Your goal reminded them of everything they were unwilling to become. So they attempted to assassinate your character in the hopes of diminishing his brightness. But instead of diminishing it, they highlighted their own dysfunction. The energy they used on you is now being returned to them. The same lies they spun about you are being told about them. And this time, people are paying attention because their behaviors are finally reflecting the catastrophe they created. Nobody's buying the act anymore. The mosque is cracked. The crowd has grown weary with the show and is departing. You did not need to battle for your reputation. You only have to keep united. The universe handled the rest. The truth is now louder than it has ever been in their lives. The trap they prepared for you turned into a stage where they revealed themselves while you kept your hands clean. And the irony? They destroyed their own credibility while attempting to destroy yours. Number 5, they believed they had broken you, but they had really triggered an old code in you. They were certain you were done. They believed that betrayal, sorrow, and pain would ultimately quiet you. They anticipated to see you shrink, evaporate, or spiral into the same depths they attempted to pull you into. But what they didn't realize was that sorrow doesn't diminish the chosen. It actively dates them when they break your heart. They accidentally activated your advanced programming. They unlocked a version of you that you hadn't yet encountered. The pain did not destroy you. It awoke you, not merely in a mental or emotional sense. It reawakened something old inside your soul, a deeper awareness, spiritual DNA that had been dormant till life shattered you open. You started remembering who you were before the agony, not only in this lifetime, but at the soul level. You weren't just surviving, you were being calibrated. Every tear, every sleepless night, every quiet scream into your pillow was a code that triggered holy memory, strength, and awareness that no book or guru could ever teach you. That was not what they expected. They believed that pain would turn you bitter, damaged, and lost. Instead, it made you laser-focused, spiritually empowered, and unshakable. You began to move differently, seeing through others, hearing things others missed, and speaking with strength that struck people in the spirit, because the anguish was more than simply physical. You were initiated. You entered your higher contract without realizing it. And now the cosmos is realigning itself around you. Opportunities are pouring, dead ends are being cleared, and secret allies are emerging. And the ones who sought to bury you are now forced to watch it happen. They're surprised that you are still standing. But what scares them today is that you're no longer the person they attempted to shatter. You're larger and better directed. They did not shatter you. They dispelled the idea that you were always helpless. In doing so, they triggered the version of you that recalls why you're here. Now you move as if you know, and people can sense it even if they don't understand it. Number 6, their karma is not bad luck. It's the price for disrespecting a revered being. What they're going through isn't just terrible luck. It is not a hard patch, and the cosmos is not treating them unfairly. They are enduring the delayed payback for a spiritual crime. They assumed no one saw the karma they were drowning in right now. That is the invoice, along with the allegation of violating someone who is protected by divine law. They treated you like you were disposable, like your energy, loyalty, love, and spirit. They might be abandoned or perverted for their own advantage. But what they didn't realize, what they refused to see, was that you were ridiculed. There are individuals on this planet who hold divine contracts, not for fame or clout, but for effect, light, the type of healing and truth that dispels all forms of darkness. They walk in. You are one of them. When individuals cross that sort of soul, there is always a receipt. They felt you were average since you did not boast, were modest, and provided them several opportunities. But it was all grace, not frailty. And now that they've emptied it, the repercussions they derided are becoming true. Financial ruin, ruined relationships, restless nights, emotional breakdowns, things people can't articulate but feel, things no number of diversions or affirmations can change. You did not curse them. You did not desire vengeance. All you did was withdraw yourself. And when you took a step back, that karma moved ahead because the divine ledger is not emotional. It's exact. It recalls every lie, deception, and betrayal they promised no one would know about. And now their lives is catching up with them. They are being revealed in ways that seem supernatural because they are. The universe doesn't have to shout. It just removes its hand. And when that hand was the only thing keeping them from facing the consequences of their own actions, the aftermath is loud, brutal, and clear. What's occurring to them is not a coincidence. It's about accountability. They had defiled something holy, and now the debt is due. No extensions. Number 7, they laughed as you lost. Now they're yelling as you rise. They chuckled as you stumbled. When you lose everything, when you were quiet, suffering, misunderstood, and alone. They found it amusing that you were suffering. They were brazen in their ridicule because they believed you were done. They utilized your lowest point as a mirror to make themselves feel taller. They made jokes, muttered slander, and nodded in agreement when others slandered your reputation. It helped them feel secure to assume you were beneath them. But they didn't realize that your fall was not a failure. It was a setup for something they were never supposed to grasp. You were never losing. You were being moved. The divine does not hurry ascent. It allows for betrayal, breakdown, and quiet, so that when the ascent occurs, no one can deny it. And suddenly it is rising. You're about to move into power, peace, and purpose. Doors are opening that no one can close. Things are aligning in ways that do not make rational sense. The same folks who laughed are now terrified, not because you're dazzling, but because your brightness reveals something scary for them. They've been laughing at someone God has been supporting all along. Your return is accomplishing more than just raising you. It is exposing them. They weren't just haters. They were the spiritual enemies in your tale. They ridiculed a divinely constructed soul. And now the facts in your favor is making their previous actions seem terrible in retrospect. They realized that while they were attempting to bury you, they were really fighting against something precious. It's more than simply envy, it's guilt. It is fear because they understand that blessings like yours do not come to everyone. They tumble in the cold, the tested and selected. And now they have a horrible sensation. What if I was ridiculing somebody? God was in control the whole time. That is why they are unable to accept your accomplishment. It isn't your victories that upset them. It's what your victories imply. Your ascent is evidence. Proof that their laughter did not derail your destiny. It just chronicled who was applauding when they believed God had abandoned you. Now he is exalting you in broad view, and their silence is deafening. Number 8, what they sowed in secret is now flourishing in front of everyone. They really felt they could spread falsehoods in secret and never be discovered. They reasoned that if they murmured quietly enough, distorted just the right facts, and moved in the right way, no one would notice. But they didn't anticipate how spiritual law operates. Energy always returns. Seeds grow indefinitely, yet nothing done in the dark is permanent. What they displayed behind closed doors is now growing in front of everyone. And it's not a garden, but a cemetery. They felt they were so smart, creating tales, playing the victim, and portraying you as the issue while smiling in your face. They moved from person to person, spreading lies and drama, expecting you be too exhausted or damaged to defend yourself. But you didn't have to defend yourself. The truth has a pulse. It breathes and finally gets up on its own. Now all they've done is crumbling, not by vengeance or exposure at your hands, but through an unstoppable divine balance. The individuals they misled toward seeing their masks slipping, the ones they persuaded to switch on, you're now doubting everything. Relationships that they exploited to make their argument are deteriorating. Their credibility is deteriorating. And now, for the odd part, you didn't move a finger. That is the part they cannot manage. It is not just that they are being revealed. This is the way things are, quietly, perfectly timed without your input. In the same manner that they planted their deception in quiet, the universe is disclosing it openly. There is clearly no misunderstanding, and it's messed up their heads because they thought they got away with it. Meanwhile, you are ascending, not in conceit or ego, but in unmistakable truth. Your stability, tranquility, and progress make them seem to have always been who they are. Insecure individuals who couldn't damage what they didn't comprehend. And now, as your life grows, it shines a sharp light on the foundations of all they attempted to conceal. They instigated betrayal. They're collecting exposure, and the whole world is watching. Number 9, they wanted you to shatter, but now they are the ones unraveling. Some individuals didn't only want you to fail. They needed you too. Your grief made them feel strong. They enjoyed seeing you fall apart, as if your pain verified their strength, intelligence, and superiority. They did not just walk away when you were low. They circled like vultures, waiting for you to get back up. And while you remained silent, you were in survival mode, attempting to pull yourself back together. They interpreted the quiet for defeat, but it was not defeat. It was about regeneration. They couldn't see how precious you were, not because you flaunted it, but because your soul disrupted every lie they believed themselves. You were picked, but that did not imply you were flawless. It signified that your path had spiritual weight and heavenly support. And when they attacked you, whether via treachery, manipulation, or emotional destruction, they weren't simply targeting you. They were flinging fists at something bigger than they knew. Now the tables are turning in an unsettling manner. The more you construct, the more things unravel. Not because you're cursing them, but because everything they projected onto you is coming back. They are waking up with heaviness. They are losing relationships, opportunity, health, and calm. Not by chance, but because their motives were tainted. And now they're sipping from their own cup, what they attempted to break into. You become a template for your own development. And now your power renders their weakness inescapable. They're disturbed by the realization that what did not kill you improved you. And what they celebrated in your worst hour is now revealing their inner deterioration. This is not karma being petty. This is the global equilibrium repairing itself. You, the vessel they attempted to destroy, were never intended to remain shattered, and they were never supposed to go away. They're also not responsible. And now that heavenly justice has been served, there's no need to look back. The drawback is that it is noisy, filthy, and public. Not because you wanted it, but because they deserved every bit of it. Number 10, their apologies cannot stop the common now. They should have heeded the warning indications. Now that the pandemonium has caught up with them, you'll notice it. Sudden apologies, uncomfortable messages, and faked worry. But it is not true responsibility. It is dread. It's the terror that sets in when individuals learn the damage they did was not insignificant and the person they attempted to break wasn't ordinary. They're not regretful about what they did. They apologize for the expenditure. A few of them had nightmares, gut sensations, warnings. They sensed it. Those subtle nudges reminding people not to meddle with you. Moments of hesitation. They disregarded the peculiar resistance they sensed while conspiring against you. Their own soul was attempting to stop them, but pride propelled them onward anyhow. They didn't merely injure someone. They offended something spiritual. And now they're attempting to backtrack, believing that words can undo the damage that their actions have already done. However, karma does not act just on superficial feelings. It does not react to prepared apologies or fake tears. It reads energy, purpose, and alignment. It records the moments no one else saw, when they mocked your grief, when they twisted your compassion, and when they drove you to your breaking point. They crossed the line. They were advised not to cross across repeatedly. And now, the universe is balancing the books. They believed that if they moved on, the memories would disappear. But spiritual law never expires. Every transgression is a seed, and those seeds are now flowering in their life. Not because you cursed them or exposed them, but because the system they disregarded has finally activated, bringing death to their sorrow. They believe that apologies may be used to avoid facing punishment. However, certain doors, once open, do not shut when commanded. They desired your quiet as they raped you, and now they seek your forgiveness in order to mute their karma. But it doesn't operate that way. They were frequently warned, yet opted to gamble with holy energy. The aftermath is no longer optional. It is planned. Number 11. The energy that they weaponized is now spinning back like a boomerang. They believed energy was a game. They thought that if they played smartly enough, twisted your words, and irritated you, you were gaslit just right. There'd be no penalties. They saw your quiet as weakness, empathy as naivety, and devotion as idiocy. But they failed to account for the fact that spiritual energy never dies. It travels, and the same energy that they used to shatter you is now coming back with surgical precision. They understood your experiences and utilized them as blueprints for psychological warfare. They pushed on your wounds not to treat, but to control you. They took advantage of your goodwill, because who would think someone like you could be the victim when they seem to be calm and collected? They use your good nature against you. Assume you won't fight back. But you didn't. You walked away instead. That's not what they expected. You didn't get your vengeance. You did not start a slander campaign. You did not descend to their level. That's why the boomerang is striking them so hard, because they are not damaged by your hands. They are undone by their own acts, returning to sender. Every deception, manipulation, and harsh chuckle takes place behind closed doors. It's creeping back into their lives in ways they can't shake. But here's a twist. They lack your elegance in dealing with the situation. You struggled in quiet, yet kept your heart intact. You went through your breaking and emerged wiser. But now that they've experienced a portion of what they put you through, they're disintegrating, spinning, and perplexed as to why everything is going wrong. Their minds are racing, their relationships are shattered, and their tranquility is non-existent. And they have no concept how to bear the weight they have given you with easily. This is the legislation of return to work, not as punishment, but as a corrective. The universe is revealing precisely what they send out, but without your resilience to protect them. That is why it is unpleasant for them. They were not designed to carry what they attempted to impose on you, and they are now learning the hard way. When sacred energy is mismanaged, it always returns, but not in the same form in which it was sent. Number 12. They believed they could touch the selected without consequences. Now they're haunted. At the time, They thought it was hilarious. You seemed weak, calm, forgiving, and easy to manipulate. They believed you were simply another kind that they could use, drain, and dump with impunity. They didn't understand you were walking with something old and heavenly. You weren't just polite, you were anointed. They not only mistreated individuals, but they also misused spiritual power. Now the fun has faded, replaced with sleepless nights, sudden breakdowns, domestic stress, and dread. They can't explain. It's not a matter of guilt. They're not really honest with themselves. It is something deeper. It's the nagging realization that they've crossed a boundary they can't undo. They are paranoid because they feel it. Something is odd. Something is pursuing them. And no matter how many times they change the topic, remove themselves, or pretend it is all in the past, it remains. They're haunted by repercussions, not ghosts, by the energy they disturbed, by the holy presence they violated without realizing every financial obstacle, poisonous spiral in their relationships, or unexplained health problem. It is not random. It is the result of spiritual mismatch. They touched a selected one as if it were nothing. They entered holy land with bad intentions, and now their lives are unraveling. Not because you want vengeance, but because the energy you carry reacts when dishonored. This is the importance of being selected. People don't usually see the spiritual law until it affects them back. They derided something they should have revered. They attempted to harm something they should have respected. And now their souls are recalling what their brains overlooked. That you were not ordinary. You were a heavenly mission, a mirror, and a test. They failed. As a result, the same intensity they used to play is now reflecting everything they did. They can't sleep, not because they feel awful for you, but because they now understand how you felt. And it is awful. They're not just regretting what they've done to you. They're plagued by who you are and how much touching you cost them. Number 13 is their greatest punishment, seeing you become untouchable. They assumed that walking away or forcing you out meant they had one. They considered you expendable, someone to utilize, laugh at, and disregard. They couldn't recognize your value because their ego blinded them. You were the one who provided grace, loyalty, healing, energy, and protection. They didn't even comprehend, but they did not regard you as a gift. They regarded you as an option, as if you will always be present, no matter how often they cross the boundary. Now the tables have turned, but not in the spectacular movie-style manner they imagined. There was no great battle, no retaliation, just stillness, distance, and access barred. That is the component they did not calculate. Their biggest penalty was not to lose anything from you. It is eternally locked out of you. You're no longer accessible, not emotional, spiritual, or energetic. You had outgrown the point where their pandemonium could even affect you. You have a favor on their lives, and they were unaware of it when around you. Doors opened. Blessings became simpler. Peace lasted longer. However, they ascribed it to chance or, worse, their own excellence. Now they're in rooms with heavy energy, fragile relationships, and chances sliding away, and they can't figure out what's missing. It's you. You were the spiritual protection they took for granted, the intercessor. They insulted the holy link. They attempted to reduce it to yet another human encounter. But heaven was watching, and now they're watching as you go into blessings. They cannot undermine talks in places where they will never be welcomed. They do not even have spiritual approval to enter. It's gnawing at them, not because they want you back out of love, but because your success validates what they attempted to deny. You were never beneath them. You were constantly above their level of purpose. They're no longer only excluded from your life. They're cut off from the energy that kept them safe while they toyed with your emotions. That's the karma of seeing you prosper, unspoiled, unconcerned, and untouchable, knowing they had access to a chosen one and treated it as a joke. There is no re-entry. No, that door was finally closed. and now they feel it in every benefit they can't have. Number 14, they didn't just cross you. They crossed the sacred boundary. They didn't only insult you. They had defiled something holy. You weren't just another individual going through their lives. You were a heavenly interruption, a spiritual mission, and a real response to prayer. They didn't even realize they needed to pray. Instead of respecting your presence, they mistreated it. They crossed you believing it was a personal matter, not understanding they were confronting something much larger than flesh and blood. They crossed the holy line, and the repercussions were never going to be purely emotional. You came into their lives to uplift them, not with huge speeches or dazzling acts, but just by being at a different frequency. You brought light into the darkness. You destroyed generational curses just by being there. Your energy shook things free, revealed dysfunctions, made life unpleasant, and unleashed every monster they weren't prepared to face. They were unprepared for your purity, honesty, and perseverance. They did what injured people do. They attempted to eliminate something they did not grasp. However, your mission was never to be loved. It was to activate. Activation always results in resistance. The trouble is that they didn't just resist you. They attempted to crush you, humiliate you, lie to you, and exploit you in the belief that they were in control, but they were not rejecting you as a person. They were rejecting the divine's command. That is not drama. That is spiritual rebellion. And now the cosmos is making things clear. Not because you want retribution, but because divine law demands balance. They interfered with the holy alignment. And now the correction is audible, harsh, and unmistakable. Relationships are deteriorating, funds are stalled, and tranquility is non-existent. Health is fragile, and nothing flows. And as they hunt for answers, the reality becomes evident. What they are going through is not simply karma, it is divine judgment. They believe crossing you was innocuous, but they crossed a spiritual barrier where purpose is more important than looks. They saw your brightness and chose sabotage. They accepted your assistance, yet decided to do damage. Heaven's reaction is now emerging in front of their eyes. This isn't your victory. This is the divine repairing something that was never intended to be touched. Their collapse is not punishment. It's a sacred adjustment. And once that threshold is crossed, there is no redoing what has already been divinely determined. Now the truth stands towering, unmistakable, and echoes through every setback, every restless night, and every door that no longer opens for them. They did not just betray a nice person. They shattered a heavenly equation. They assumed you were the one spinning, the one going apart. However, the collapse they attempted to create has become their reality. The traps they laid for you become prisons around them, and the light they attempted to extinguish. It's now blindingly obvious, revealing every lie they said, game they played, and spiritual rule they broke. You didn't need to fight back. You didn't need to reveal them. The heavenly accomplished it for you. Because when someone touches a chosen one with impure intentions, the universe takes it seriously. You were not brought here to be mistreated, humiliated, or depleted. You were put here as a mirror, a catalyst, and a holy presence. And whether they liked you or hated you, their reactions to you were always documented spiritually, energetically, and cosmically. You are now ascending in full view, not just elevated, but impenetrable, not simply cured, but reinstated in divine power. They can only observe from the outside, since they have lost their previous access, haunted not just by what they did, but also by who you are. It was never about vengeance. It was about revelations. It was about divine law demonstrating that no one can mishandle holy energy and walk away unharmed. Your brightness now speaks louder than their chatter ever did. Your calm is their punishment. Your ascension is their reckoning. And while they sit in the solitude you once desired, let them to feel the weight of what they've lost. Not a person, but a doorway that provides direct access to grace, favor, protection, and elevation. Let the record indicate that they did not lose you. They lost their connection to the divine via you. And it's a door that will never be reopened, ever. If this message resonated to your soul, do not just scroll away. Hit the subscribe button to join a community that sees you, hears you, and understands what you're carrying. I like this video. If it reinforced what your spirit already knew, please share in the comments. If you've ever felt the weight of being selected, misunderstood, and mistreated but never defeated, please share this with someone who needs it. What they left behind was never average. It was anointed. Your advancement is not only about you. It's a confirmation for someone else. Let us disseminate the truth. Let's awaken the sleeping titans. Let us shock the algorithm with purpose. I see you. I respect you. And I'll see you in the next one. Continue to be picked. Stay safe. Stay untouchable. Dear viewers, your support through Super Chat and membership is the only source of income that keeps this channel running. If you want me to continue uploading valuable content without delays and to stay motivated in providing you with the best wisdom, I need your help. Every contribution, big or small, makes a huge difference. Feel free to donate and support Pure Wisdom so we can keep growing together. Your generosity keeps this journey alive.
If you're enjoying the content on Pure Wisdom and find value in the messages we share, I encourage you to subscribe. Based on the latest analytics, 93.9% of viewers are watching without subscribing. By subscribing, you not only stay updated with new content, but also support the channel's growth, allowing us to continue spreading wisdom for the chosen ones. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an important message. Let's build this community together.